I am so excited and happy that you have decided to join me today for another episode on the One Income Family podcast. Setting up a budget for success isn't about the numbers or the categories or even the budget itself. It's simply a tool to know what's going on. Rather, a successful budget is about creating a boundary that gives you freedom. When you set up a budget, most people, they only see what you can't do. But a budget tells you what you can do and how much money you have to do whatever it is that is in that category, right? So if all you see is can'ts, your budget isn't set up for the life that you want to live, and it's time to change that. That is why I have 5 tips to help you set up a budget that's going to bring you success. It's going to give you the life you and your family want to live instead of feeling restricted like you can't do anything. It's time to shift your mindset and start seeing what you can and get to do. So go grab yourself an iced coffee and enjoy a moment for yourself as we dive into today's episode. Do you find it hard to save or get out of debt? Are you constantly searching for ways to save money and live on a budget? Do you have big dreams only to be stopped by not sticking to your budget? Are you ready for financial freedom? Then you, mama, are in the right place. Welcome to the One Income Family podcast, where you will learn what it looks like to budget on one income, how to partner with God in your finances, how to budget in a way that's easy to stick to, and how to cut costs and save money, all so that you can start building wealth. It is my mission to equip you with these tools so that you can live in abundance regardless of the amount in your account. Hey, I'm Molly, a budget coach for stay-at-home moms, and I know what it's like to struggle on one income. I've lived paycheck to paycheck, relied on being frugal, and failed many budgets until I learned how to budget without tracking. This has allowed my family to pay off debt and build wealth all on one income. So, if you are ready for financial freedom, then go grab that stroller, plug in those headphones, and let's get to it. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to invite you to grab yourself a budget coaching session. You, mama, you're here, you're listening to the podcast because you're struggling to stick to your budget. And I want to say to that there's absolutely no shame. I want you to get that first and forehand, right? But instead of staying stuck in the continuous cycle of budgeting just to throw it out the window, I want to challenge you to break it, to take your first step towards financial success and grab yourself a budget coaching session. You can do this. You can break this cycle, and you don't have to do it alone. You can learn why you're struggling to stick to your budget and create healthy systems to replace it with simply by grabbing a budget coaching session with me. Because with the right systems in place, budgeting can be simple and easy to stick to. Go to calendly.com/Molly Bunnell and see if this is what you have been looking for. Again, all you have to do is go to calendly.com/Molly Bunnell. That's calendly.com/Molly with a Y, B as in boy, ENELL. And I look forward to working with you. Okay, so I have a question for you. How many budgets have failed you? On a serious note, think back. How many budgets have you tried and you set it up at the beginning of the month, then you get to the end of the month and you found that you just threw it out the window because it just didn't work. Nothing went as planned and things just didn't flow like you thought it was going to, right? How many times have you tried to change up your budgeting system itself? Like, that is just something that there are so many different styles and types of budgets out there. And even my budget, like, you can sit down and fill it out and try to create this awesome digital cash envelope system for yourself, but it can still fail you, right? The budget, the tool itself, is not going to be the thing that brings you success. That is the hard truth of budgeting. There are so many different factors. There can be so many great budgets out there. There's like Dave Ramsey. There's one that I've learned from someone called Chelsea Joe. There's some from like the Budget Mom. You can look online and you can find so many different kinds of budgets out there. But when you sit down and you fill it out, if you don't know how to set it up for success, it's going to fail you every single time. And at the end of the month, you're going to be questioning, looking back, going, well, why didn't this work? They said with all this advertisement that it was going to be this awesome thing and it was going to do awesome things for me and I was going to be able to stick to my budget and follow through, but it just didn't work. I still feel restricted. I feel like I can't go out and do anything. All I see is all these things, these words that are saying that I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't go and hang out with my friend because I just don't have the money. It's not in the budget, right? There's all this negativity around these budgets because we do not set up our budgets for success. And that is why I've created this episode, because you don't simply just want the tools. Like the budget is the tool, right? But if you don't know how to successfully use the budget, no matter how many different types of budgets you try out, they're still going to fail you. It's as simple as that. Yeah, you can get consistent with it. You can do everything that needs to be to where you're technically sticking to the budget, but then you feel restricted. Then you feel like you can't do anything. You feel like if something comes along and pops up out of the blue, you're not able to handle it. Maybe you have your emergency fund set up, but maybe it's just not something that qualifies under that emergency fund. Like maybe a friend wants to go out and do something, like go to the movies or something, but you've already spent all your fund money. Like, well, how can I not do that, right? Like, what am I going to do? I'm restricted. I can't do the things that I want to do. And so that is what this episode is about. That is why I have come up, well, I don't know if I've necessarily come up with them, but I've written them down and like figured out what I do to try to make my budget feel successful, to not make it feel restricting, to be able to see what I can do with it, to be hopeful and joyful of the things that I get to do instead of sitting in that negativity of what I can't do, right? And so I'm just going to jump into those. The first one that I have, the first of the 5 tips, is don't restrict yourself, right? That is like the first thing that we feel when it comes to a budget. Like there are borders, there are walls, there are things that keep us on track and online and all this kind of things, right? But if we don't give ourselves a little bit of a wiggle room, maybe that's by not budgeting every single dollar. Maybe that helps you feel a little bit less restricted, that you can do something with it. Or maybe you give yourself what everyone looks down upon, an allowance, right? Maybe you give yourself a little bit of an allowance to spend on like a weekly or monthly or a per paycheck basis, whatever you've come up with. That is going to keep you from feeling restricted, from feeling like you can't do anything with your money, because you then can do things with your money. You can set up things. You can plan for the birthday parties. You can plan for the things, and you can even plan for the things that you don't know are going to come up, right? Because you have a little bit of wiggle room in your budget. Now, maybe you can't do a whole bunch. Maybe you can't do like $100 a month or whatever it is that you would like to be able to do. But you can do something, even if it's simply just creating a budget where whatever is left over after you have bought your groceries, you get to go get a treat with that. Maybe it's getting coffee. Maybe it's going to a movie. Maybe you save up that little bit so that you can take your family out to the movies, right? Maybe it's something like that. But whatever brings you joy, whatever brings your family joy and lights you up, you need to be able to do those things instead of feeling restricted and like you can't do anything. Be hopeful, be joyful. No, we can't get it right here, right now, in the moment kind of thing. But you can slowly get there, and it feels so much sweeter and so much better when you wait for it and you finally achieve the thing, right? So that is the first thing. I want you to stop restricting yourself and give yourself some money to spend whatever you would like to on. Okay, so the second thing is I want you to keep it loose. This is kind of like the wiggle room thing, but it's not in the money aspect of it. It's more like in the mindset of it, because the one thing that is going to happen is changes. Like, there are going to be changes that come along. So I want you to feel free to update your budget and change your goals, change your ideas, change the things that you thought were going to be a priority when you sat down to create this budget, but it turns out isn't the priority, and you need to move money around and shift it to the new priority, right? It is okay to do that. That doesn't mean that you've fallen off budget. The only way you would fall off budget is if you threw the budget out the window and if you took money from like your needs, like your bills and money for food. That is the only way you would fall off the budget. And so I want to give you the freedom to change your goals. Don't wait for the next pay period. Unless you've spent all your money already, don't wait for the next pay period. Just change your goals, move your money around. Allow that to be okay and stop feeling restricted like you have to wait till the next paycheck, right? It is okay to be flexible and to move things around. So I want to give you the freedom and the permission to do that and stop feeling like you have to do what the budget says, like it's in ink, you can't change it, there's no erasing, and it has to stay the same. No, that is not the case. Give yourself the freedom to have a loose budget. It's there for parameters, for an outline, to give you a little bit of clarity. But if things change, the budget can change too. Remember that. Okay, so then the third tip that I want to give to you is to start where you're currently at. This is where a lot of people fail when it comes to creating a budget. They want to just start with where they think they should be, or they want to start with where maybe they have no idea where they're at and they just are throwing numbers at the wall kind of thing. Well, maybe this one will work, or maybe this one will work, and maybe this is a goal that I want to get to. But when you set up a budget based on thoughts and goals and where you think you should be, it's going to not work for you. You're going to end up throwing that budget out the window because it's hard. It's essentially like quitting cold turkey. It's hard, it's a lot of work, and unless you are an extremely diligent person that doesn't have a whole bunch of distractions and people coming at you, which is not the case because you have children and you have a husband and they all want to do their kind of thing, right? Well, you're going to end up throwing that budget out the window because it's not going to work for you and it's going to fail you again. So instead of trying to come up with numbers and come up with categories that you think you should have, you need to take a step back and actually see what you're doing. I know it means that you have to take time to look at your statements, that you're going to have to highlight what it is that you're already doing, which then takes time, and it's so much easier to just throw numbers in there and to guess and think that it's going to work, but that's not going to give you a budget that's going to be successful. That is going to give you a budget that is going to fail you. And I don't want that for you. So please take the time, pull some statements, look at what you're already doing, create a budget for the next month based off of that. And then the following month, after you've seen what you already do and you have an idea of how you would like to change things, slowly start changing them. Do not quit cold turkey. Take one category at a time, work on it. Then take another one once you've gotten it to where you want it to be. Say it's groceries. Say you're spending like $2,000 a month on groceries, which is a lot of money, right? And you want to get down to maybe say $1,000 or maybe $800, whatever it is that you think you need at the moment, or what you would like to challenge yourself to get down to so you can use that money elsewhere, right? Take it slowly. Cut out maybe $100 at a time and see where you can get from there. But instead of just like cutting it out, challenge yourself a different way. Like, how can you be more frugal in the moment? Where can you Stop buying the prepackaged and start making it yourself. Where are you comfortable making these shifts? Because that is going to bring you success, and that is going to be the easy and simplest way to slowly start taking yourself there instead of overwhelming yourself and like throwing your head in the pillow and screaming because it's just so hard, right? Stop quitting cold turkey. Take it slowly. It's going to get you there so much faster and so much easier and with less stress. Trust me, take it slowly. Okay. Tip number 4 is to expect the unexpected. And what I mean by this is life, the one thing that you can expect in it is the unexpected. So put a plan in place for these situations. Like you are going to have like those friends want to take you to the movie and it's not going to be there in the funds because maybe you've spent it all. Well, maybe you just decide, no, it's not the right moment. We're not going to make that a priority. I'm not going to change up my budget and I don't have any excess funds for it. Well, if you want to, you can put in place something like a miscellaneous account for those unexpected things. But you need to have boundaries set around it. You need to know what you can use that for so it's not just thrown out the window and you just buy willy-nilly the things that you want to buy, right? You do want to have those parameters around it. But it gives you a little bit more wiggle room to allow for things that maybe you forgot to plan for in your budget and it's a need that you are like, oh my gosh, I forgot I needed to put that in the budget and it's coming up. Maybe there's a birthday you forgot to plan for. Maybe you knew something was going to happen. Like for some reason, I keep thinking about my microwave. We needed a new microwave. It was getting rusty on the inside. It was a tiny one that I had for literally 10 years. Like this 2014 is when I got it and it's now 2024, right? So I've had it for 10 years and it's gotten rusty on the inside and I just kept thinking like, this is probably not good for us. It's not healthy to be like microwaving our food with that, like the way it was. But I kept forgetting to budget for it and I kept forgetting to budget for it. And I was trying to save for it and I was trying to budget for it in the paycheck because we had the funds for it. But I just kept forgetting because I guess it wasn't necessarily a huge priority to me when I sat down to budget because I just kept forgetting about it. Well, if I would have had the miscellaneous account, because I do have one, but again, I'd never remember until I got home. But this is like one of those situations, I'm going down a rabbit hole. But what I'm trying to get to is that is one of those situations where I could have used that miscellaneous money and bought the microwave instead of putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, which was literally me just being forgetful in the moment when it came to budgeting and going to the store because my brain is just like groceries and home. But that is like what I'm talking about. Those things that you forget that are coming up. You know that maybe there are some kids' pictures and you forgot to budget for it in your kids' stuff, or maybe your kids' fund that you have is low, but you'd still like to get some pictures. Well, maybe you have some miscellaneous money that you can use, right? That is what it's there for, to help you to plan for the things that come up that are unexpected. Now, this miscellaneous account is different than like your emergency fund of like 6 months of expenses and $2,000. Like those are two different things. But the miscellaneous account is more for like the fun stuff if you're able to do it. It's for like going out to eat if you forgot something, or maybe someone got sick and you needed to buy some vitamins, some medicine. And you've already bought your groceries, so that money's all gone, right? Well, you have this there as a backup for that kind of thing if that's something that you want in your budget, right? This is all your choice. The stuff that I tell you, the categories that I give you, the amounts that I give you are just guidelines. You are the one in control. You get to choose how much money you want to put in there. And that brings me to the next point. Set up your budget your way. All these experts out there are going to tell you how much they think you should put in your budget, what categories you should have, how to figure this all out, how much money you should be spending for groceries or for bills, like whether you should have these bills or shouldn't have these bills. In the end, it doesn't matter what the experts say. In the end, it matters what you want. It is up to you and your family to identify what is important to you, to identify what it is that you guys want to do as a family that bring you joy, that bring you excitement. What are the activities that you and your family do that brings joy to the house, that you think are important enough to put your hard-earned money towards? So you need to sit down together with your husband, because this is a joint venture. It is not a single thing. You may be the one actually dispersing the funds and moving things around on the computer and in the app, but in the beginning, you two need to sit down and create a budget that brings you both joy, something that you have compromised over, because there are going to be times where your needs trump his needs, and then there's going to be times where his needs trump your needs, and you need to know how you want to handle that. So you have to sit down together. You have to figure out what your family priorities are, what you want to do, like what do you want your budget to say? I always say that a budget is like your house. When somebody comes in or somebody sees how you spend your money, they're going to know what lights you up. They're going to know the things that you enjoy doing. They're going to know what the personality is of your family and the priorities of your family. And you can't do that if you follow what everybody says that you should do. Okay? So I want to make sure that that gets through to you, that you need to set up your budget your way. Take everyone's advice with a grain of salt, but in the end, you need to set up your budget your way and make sure that it still meets all your needs, right? As long as your needs are met, then you can handle your wants and your wishes. And whatever those wants and wishes are is completely and totally up to you and your family. Okay, I'm going to get off that soapbox, but I just really want to make sure that you get that, right? I want you to understand how important it is to not follow somebody else's budget and to follow your own and to create one that's going to light you up. Okay, so with that being said, I do want to touch on the fact that I have budget coaching sessions, and these are available to you so that if you want, we can get on together and we can talk about setting up your budget your way. Like maybe you have a budget that you are just not sure of whether it's something that's actually going to be successful to you and your family. Well, we can talk. I'm not going to say this is what you have to do. I'm going to walk you through it and ask you questions so that you can come up with these ideas. And then you can take it back to your husband and you can create the budget that's actually going to bring you life, right? So please, if that sounds like something that you would be interested in, go to calendly.com/Molly Bunnell. And I would love to get to know you, to get to know your story, to get to know your situation so that I can guide you and help you find the answers that you are looking for. Again, I'm not going to say cut and dry, this is what has to be. I'm going to help you figure it out. Even if that means that you don't take on the budget system that I talk about, right? The digital cash envelope system, you don't have to do that budget to work with me. I will help you with whatever budget that you are working with and simply just help you create one that's actually going to help you and your family flourish. So again, all you have to do is go to calendly.com/Molly Bunnell to book that coaching session so that you can create a budget that brings you and your family life. And with that being said, I look forward to seeing you right back here again next week on another episode of the One Income Family Podcast. Before you go, I hope this episode has ignited a fire inside of you, and I pray that it creates long-lasting impact. Did you know that you too can impact other one-income families? All you have to do is leave a written review, and you help get the podcast in the hands of other mamas in need. You can also text this episode to that friend who is also knee-deep in the same kind of chaos as you and inspire them to make a change. Also, your review lets me know that you're enjoying the show, and that lights me up. I get so excited to hear from you. Another great way that we can connect, though, is through the One Income Family community over on Facebook. So after you're done leaving that 5-star review, head on over to the community where you will find other mamas working their way out of the chaos. You can ask your questions and connect with others who truly understand what you are going through. I cannot wait to connect with you in the community. Until then, I will see you right here next week on another episode of the One Income Family Podcast.